It's a Bay Area bucket binge by the Warriors, who lived to see a Game 7 of the conference finals. They outscored the Rockets by 46 after trailing by 17 in the first quarter. And we have a Game 7 coming up on Monday night. That's Grant Hill, Brendan Haywood. I'm Matt Weiner. Post-game coverage here. Klay Thompson, reminiscent of his Game 6 against Oklahoma City a couple of years ago when they were facing elimination, goes off for 21 of his 35 in the second half, and the Rockets either ran out of gas or just ran into a very motivated Warriors team.
Matt, I think it was both. I mean, we talked early, we saw the first quarter. Houston came out on fire, hitting shots, just playing with so much confidence, and the Warriors were on the ropes there. But I'll tell you what, they showed a lot of heart. They started to get some momentum there in the second quarter. And really, that second half, defensively, what they did, they increased the activity, the energy level, getting steals, deflections, getting out in the open court, getting shots, of course, and then Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, the Splash Brothers were just, truly amazing tonight. What a performance, what a second half, what a team effort there, Golden State, especially being down early, big. I think 17 points at one point.
And looking bad in the first quarter. The Warriors did not look like themselves at all early on in this game.
Looked as bad as I've seen them all season.
Obvious question for the Rockets. How much did they miss Chris Paul in this game?
They missed Chris Paul a lot. Not only did they miss Chris Paul from a playmaking standpoint and a guy that could facilitate, take the ball out of James's hands at times, but they missed him from a leadership standpoint. In the second half, this team flat out crumbled. They were outscored 64-25 in the second half. That can't happen. Now, I understand you might get outscored. I understand the Golden State Warriors are an excellent third quarter team, but 64-25, 25 points in an NBA playoff basketball game for a second half, that's really unexcusable. So I think they really miss Chris Paul's playmaking, but more importantly, they miss his spirit, his fire, his competitive nature.
And, of course, valuing the basketball. They coughed up the basketball so much, 21 turnovers there. Golden State was able to get out, capitalize off those turnovers. Chris Paul's there, another ball handler, also another playmaker, a guy who can go get a basket for himself or create for his teammates. They really only had James Harden to do that against a defense that was amped up and ramped up in the second half. So if Chris Paul, a healthy Chris Paul, was out there playing, I'm not saying they would have won the game.
Right.
I think they would have given themselves a chance, and Golden State might not have had that big-time victory or second half that they were able to pull off.
Well, and so often during this series, we've seen Chris Paul either hit a big shot or make a big defensive play or a stand or just calm people down when things weren't going the Rockets' way. And obviously that was missing. It doesn't carry the same impact from the sideline. It's hard to even ask you about Game 7 because we don't know who's going to play. We don't know if Chris Paul can play in Game 7. No sense of what the severity of his hamstring issue is. Don't really know if Andre Iguodala is going to play for the Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr said in his press conference he's going to operate under the assumption that he won't be back. But based on what you do know, what do you expect in Game 7?
Well, assuming that both those guys don't play. I mean, I think Houston did do some good things out there early. They got a little fatigued, I think, and also, of course, the energy that Golden State brought in the second half really, I think, really bothered them. They'll be at home. They'll be able to feed off that energy at home. They need to try to come out with the same mindset that they had tonight. They were free, they were loose, they played with confidence, they spread the ball around, guys were shooting the ball well. They have to value the basketball. And, of course, defensively, I mean, Klay Thompson, what he did was fantastic. Steph Curry. But, you can't let those guys, a couple times I thought Klay had some open looks, got to get back in transition. At this point, it's just a fight. I mean, you're just going to have to fight for every possession. You're going to have to shoot the ball well. You're going to have to compete. They've done it thus far, and they can do it again. It's just going to be difficult without Chris Paul.
It's going to be very difficult to do without Chris Paul. Without that secondary ball handle, puts a lot of pressure on James Harden. We saw James Harden in this game come out absolutely on fire, had 17 points early in this game, and it was looking like it was going to be his night. But when you have to score the way he's forced to score without Chris Paul, which is one-on-one dribble from the top of the key, from the left side of the three-point line, the right side, that is a hard way to earn a living, and it is super hard to do and keep your energy up and not be tired if you're doing that for the whole game. If all of your buckets have to be isolation plays where you take 8 to 10 to 15 dribbles, you're going to be wore down in the second half, especially when on the other side, those guys are figuring out how to move the ball. This game, Golden State had 26 assists. They figured out a way to move the ball. Klay Thompson was able to get easier shots. Same thing for Steph Curry. So those guys are getting easier shots. You're working for all your shots. I think Golden State's probably going to get Houston at home because Harden by himself just simply won't be enough. They're asking too much of him.
You know, he can say he didn't feel it, but he looked exhausted in the second half, particularly late in that third quarter. Golden State pushes this to a Game 7. It'll happen Monday night on TNT.